Ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speaker today is a sales productivity and business strategies expert and the co-founder and president of the Boyens Group, a sales and management consulting and training firm. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. John Boyens.
Thank you very much. I am excited to be here to see all these familiar faces and some new faces, and I'd like to kind of set the stage if we can. Let's start with one premise as we get into this piece. Sales fixes everything. I don't care what it is, what business you're in, what position you have. If you're able to be successful in selling, you can outrun all those operational problems, financial problems, etc. And one of the keys to being successful in sales is to really do a good job of prospecting. Prospecting is the key. Now, a lot of times people think about prospecting, they automatically think of cold calling. Now, cold calling is certainly a part of prospecting, but we're going to spread that out a little bit further for you today and talk all about prospecting, all different ways to be able to generate business. You know, Catherine said a lot of really good points this morning. I really liked a lot of what she was saying. I'm going to amplify on a couple of those, but let me start off with one other piece that I thought might be interesting. And again, I met some people that have been in sales now with fast signs for all of 2 days. So when I started in sales years ago, I had a boss, not a leader, but a boss who said the following to me. He said, "Your next raise will be effective when you are." Yeah. It really set the stage for what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I got that figured out. So when we get into this piece, it really is true. You can control your destiny. You can go make as much money as you want, and that's the neat thing. And when you look at all of the little word cloud up there, all of the different capabilities that you all have to sell today, there's really nobody that you can't walk into that doesn't need something that you do. The key is going into those people that want to buy a lot of what it is that you do. So let's get into what we're going to talk about today. When you talk about prospecting, everybody says we ought to do it. Then the question is, okay, where? Where should we do that? I'm going to talk about the where. Then we're going to talk about how to mine your existing base. Some of you are experienced, very successful salespeople in the room. I want us to be able to find and unlock some of those keys. I'll talk about the top 12 industries. You know, Catherine mentioned the top 5 today, and the average order size is greater, and the commissions are better. We're going to add a couple of others for you to look at as well to go mine in your market. How to qualify and disqualify opportunities. In my career in sales and sales management, which is now touching our 38th year, I will tell you this: the next best thing to a quick yes is an equally quick no. It's the maybe that kills you. So we want to talk about how to qualify and disqualify, so you spend your time with those kind of people who want to build long-term relationships with you, that view you as a trusted advisor, somebody that's got their best interest at heart. So we're going to talk about that. Then we've interviewed over 3,500 companies, and we asked them, when a salesperson calls on you, regardless of what it is they sell, what is it they do you like? What is it they do you hate? What would you suggest they could do better? If salesperson A and salesperson B had a relatively similar product, why would you buy from one versus the other? Well, I've got 2 slides on there, the 4 reasons why people don't buy and what buyers expect from salespeople today. That will be exceptionally insightful for you, because you're going to go back and go, oh, now I understand why that deal went sideways, or now I understand why that took so long. If we can learn from our mistakes, we're going to be better. And I'm just going to ask one question. We'll just see if I get a little giggle out of the audience with this one. If you've been in sales for any period of time and somebody said they're not going to buy from you, they're going to stay with their current provider, most of us ask the question, why? Show of hands, how many people ask the question, why? Okay? Now here's the other one. When they say yes, when they buy, how many of you ask, why did you buy? That would seem to be really useful information to have, don't you figure? You know, but most of us that are in the sales game get so nervous about the sales part, we kind of Michael Jackson moonwalk out of there, trying not to upset the deal. So I want to share with you what the buyers are saying so you understand how to move forward. We'll talk about the pyramid of power. How do you go higher up in the pyramid to get the person that has the power of the pen? If I understand that and I sell to decision makers, my life gets a lot easier. We'll also give you some tactical information, telephone scripts, how to leverage the telephone, and what you can do depending upon the kind of response you're getting on the phone. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about today is leveraging gatekeepers. You notice I said the word leveraging gatekeepers? There's all kinds of gatekeepers out there today. There's lower department folks. There's receptionists and secretaries and admin people. There's the dreaded voicemail, okay? And then in your kit, we also put a toolkit in the back with a marketing letter, a referral letter, and a we want you back letter that we've created working with other franchise partners over the years. Those are ones that are tried and true that you can use. So a lot to cover in 75 minutes, and they started me late, so I'm going to get going. So here we go. Let's talk about where to prospect first. First place to prospect, best place to prospect is existing customers. Right? Existing customers are the best place. The majority of businesses in the United States today generate most of their revenue selling and upselling to their existing customer base. So the first duh should be we should get them and keep them. Think about your best customers today. What percentages of the total amount of services that you sell do they buy from you? All right, so we're going to give you that penetration checklist. We'll talk about it. Second thing, you know, the best compliment a customer can give you is when they give you another order. Right? Isn't that the best compliment you get? The second best compliment is when they refer you to somebody else. How are you making sure as an outside sales rep or a franchise partner, how are you making sure that you're absolutely delighting your customers so much that they want to tell others about the great experience they've had with you? Man, our life gets a lot easier on referrals. As a matter of fact, if I take my prospecting piece a little bit further, if you do exclusively cold calling and that's all you do, you're only going to have a single-digit percentage success rate. Catherine said, you know, even some of the best are only getting no's 90% of the time, right? Only 10% yeses. Well, if you look at referral-based selling, it's in the 30s, 40s, 50%. They buy more quickly, and they don't argue so much about price. Yeah, I think those would be good people to talk to. Okay? Referrals are good. We've got the template in the back. A third one where people don't even think about mining today, and I want to talk to all those new people that have been here less than 3 months. Here's great news. You didn't sell the ones that aren't buying from you anymore. Get that in perspective. You didn't sell those. If we can create a win-back list that you call those people up that used to buy from your Fast Signs partnership, if they used to buy from you and we can get them engaged again and let them buy somewhat near the same level they used to buy, what do you think that would do for your business, right? So it's the retaining and getting them to continue to buy, getting referrals from new opportunities, winning back former customers, and we've got, again, a template in the back of your kit. And then the last one is to make sure that we're doing constant and consistent new business development. I've been very blessed. Last year, I got to address groups like this 28 times across the globe, 28 different sessions. And I asked the following question of every session. I said, if your salespeople made one quality appointment in the morning, had one quality appointment in the afternoon, and dedicated 1 hour a day to prospecting or new business development, would sales go up, go down, or stay the same? 28 out of 28 said they would go up. 23 out of 28 said they would go up significantly. Now, I'll just ask, you can holler it out. How long is an average call for you when we're using the Fast Sign Solution selling method and you get that first meeting? How long does that meeting normally last? Half hour, okay? So let's say it's even 45 minutes because you were stellar. So an appointment in the morning, 45 minutes, appointment in the afternoon, 45 minutes, an hour a day for prospecting. There would seem to be other time during the day to do things. So I want you to get focused. There is not only an art to selling. There's not only the art, the relationship building and the rapport, there's a science to selling. You have a system here that will allow you to be able to do that. Follow the system diligently. Execute the plan. That's really what's going to be the key for you. Okay? So where to prospect? You got a lot of different places. Well, let's go deeper. I have this, and this is a very busy slide that's going to come up on the deck, but you've got it in here. There are 14 questions on this deck, on this slide. This is called a customer penetration checklist. And I would suggest that if you, as a new person or even a veteran salesperson, looks at your customer base today and asks these 14 questions of each of your customers, you are going to know exactly where you need to fish. Exactly. So look at some of those. I won't read the whole slide to you, but look at some of the data points. How much business, another term, share of wallet, how much business do you have with them today of the kind of services that you sell? And then how much more is available? Here's great news again for you. You have so many things to offer. Those of you that are veterans, when you've done your capabilities presentation to a prospect, how often do they say the following? Wow, I didn't know you guys did all that. That should be the first aha, because I love the rebranding with the new name, right? The new name part on the tagline. More than fast, more than signs, because that's really what you are. More than fast, more than signs. You are visual identity experts. You got all these different ways to be able to sell solutions to your clients. You just need to take advantage of it, so you got to figure out where to go. So, how much do we have? You know, how much more is available? What solutions are we targeting? Where are we having specific success on that? And what's the current annualized revenue for those, if we could get that? Strategy for closing the business. Oh, by the way, hope is not a strategy. Well, I hope the market turns around. I hope the competitor goes in the tank. No. You actually have to get real progressive about this. Prospecting is a proactive activity, okay? There's a couple of others, but I want you to look down the next to the last major bullet. It says, what is it that the customer says they want or need? And then what's their perception of our ability to address those wants and needs versus our competition? In other words, what's our unique value proposition? What is it that we do that our competition doesn't do, can't do, or won't do in the marketplace? If you start to ask these questions across the board, you're really going to get an understanding of where to go fish. Also, don't forget, prospecting can be cross-departmental, cross-divisional. I mean, don't just think about the entity itself. If I go back and I say, are there other departments, divisions, or subsidiaries that could use our type of solution? And the answer probably yes. And if I can get those references and those referrals across that section, it's going to help me. So customer penetration checklist, excellent tool to be able to mine. Here are the 12 industries. Catherine gave you the top 5. I've added a couple, but I want you to look at these because I'm big on lists. I'm big on lists, I'm big on scripts, I'm big on templates, because those are scalable and those are repeatable. So if I was a relatively new outside sales rep, I certainly would take a look at these 12 industries and figure out, okay, where are they in my marketplace? How many of them are there? And I would have them on my list. And Catherine gave you the number of 25. I think that's a really good number to use. If I'm working a targeted opportunity hit list, great term, by the way, targeted opportunity hit list of the top 25 on my market that are in these 12 vertical industries, and I start to get successful. Doesn't success breed success? I've got stories to tell. I can talk their language. I've got references to be able to share. That's the real key. Right? That's the real key in going forward. And these are across the board. We've been fortunate over the last, 8 or 9 years of having our relationship with Fast Signs to work with about 26, 27 franchise partners across the enterprise. And we've been able to understand what is it that makes them tick? How are they getting successful? What do they need to do to be better? These are the industries, and really dig down deep and understand. And by the way, if they say no today, they just said no today. It doesn't mean they said no ever. They're still going to be a good market for us. Why? Because they're in that sweet spot where we've demonstrated success across the board. Okay. Now I get an opportunity. I was able to identify somebody I can talk to. Then how do I qualify or disqualify? The first thing that I think you ought to think about is this. Are they openly sharing information with you? Because in the old days, I will tell you, in our world today, we're getting a lot more of those RFPs, RFQs, RFIs. Those of you who don't know the term, request for proposal, request for quote, request for information. And oftentimes, we are not just waking up one day, getting into this play and saying, gosh, we got a good chance to be able to win. And why I'm saying that is, if you are not the vendor of choice when an RFP has been written, you're going against somebody else's spec. Right? Somebody else created that. I used to have a slide that said RFP, RFQ, RFI equals RIP. Because the example was what? If we didn't help create it, we were working against somebody else's. So let me give you a little bit of help, again, especially for our newer outside sales reps here. When you get that proposal that you weren't actively marketing, in the old days that used to be called the Bluebird, remember the Bluebird? We weren't marketing them, they called us. That's normally not really good news. Because we have now not only somebody contacting us that we weren't actively marketing, and they say, I need a solution that does the following 87 things. Do you think they woke up that morning understanding that? No. What happened? Somebody else set the spec up. So I'm going to give you the 4 keys to let you know you're not the vendor of choice in an RFP. That'll give you some help. One is the unsolicited call I just talked about. You're not actively marketing them, they called you. Number 2, list of requirements a mile long. Number 3, short time frame to respond. Again, to the untrained eye, we're making a decision by Friday at 5 if you could give us a quote. Yeah? And number 4, limited or no access to the decision maker. So I want to make sure we're getting that as we're going through. So openly sharing information. Ask to have something repeated during your presentation. If they've got questions about timelines or rates, about you or your company, about productivity, effectiveness, processes, etc., those are the kinds of things that says that prospect, that buyer is actually engaged with you, and they are now a qualified opportunity. Sometimes in the sales game, we just use one criterion. Are they breathing? And they don't even have to be breathing recently. I mean, it's just, that's not the key for us. So what are some real life examples? Well, who else have you worked with in our industry? Isn't that a good example? They're asking you for references. How fast can I get this product created or installed? Again, good question. Walk me through the contract or the approval process, etc. So once I get the qualification on the prospect, especially if I work in my top 12 or my top 5 industries, and I get them sharing information, now they're qualified. Now I should invest the time with them to help them become another happy member of the Fast Signs customer base. Okay, 4 reasons why people don't buy. You notice it says people and it doesn't say companies? It's really important, folks. People buy from people. For all intent and purposes, you as an outside sales rep, you are representing your center. You are Fast Signs. You're actually representing the brand. So I want you to understand why people don't buy, and I want to tell you that oftentimes we cause our own problems in sales. And if we can minimize doing that, it's going to make our life a whole lot easier. First reason that a person doesn't buy, no need. Now, no need, you could even put the quotes around need. Because what are they saying? They don't perceive that they need your solution. And why might they not perceive they need our solution? This will be that interactive part I mentioned earlier. They don't we do more than science, or worse yet, they have another vendor, another partner that they're using, correct? So guess what? What would we have had to say in the presentation that would cause them to say, I don't need it? Need any signs? Need any graphics? Need any vehicle wraps? In other words, we would have had to lead with product. We would have had to lead with product. So go back to the solutions. Fast Signs got the model, right? It's the solution selling system. I don't lead with product. I uncover need. We want our products to be used to help them satisfy or solve a problem, not to go lead with that. So the first reason, no need. Second, no vision. Back to our point. They don't even know all the things that you do. I love that word cloud. I think everybody should have that little posted and pasted right in front of them, because there's nothing that somebody needs something you do. They really do. Number 3 on the list, no value. Now, the prospect normally lets the salesperson know when value hasn't been established, but sometimes we kind of ignore it. When they say, how much is it? What does it cost? Shouldn't that be a red flag that we haven't done a good job of establishing value? Because if we really are the visual ideas people, if we're maximizing or helping a company optimize their visual identity, what's more important to that brand out there you're selling to than their visual identity? What's more important? Isn't that life or death to them? So when it's life or death, do you think price normally comes into it? No, John, it doesn't. I'm really glad you said that. Okay, good. I just want to make sure. So the value establishment, we want to be able to establish the value of what we're able to help them do. And lastly, and it's one that's really important to hear, 4th reason that people don't buy, no power. In all my years of sales and sales leadership, I've found that salespeople spend an inordinate amount of time selling to someone who can't buy. You've got to get to the decision makers. When you looked at Catherine's presentation this morning, you not only saw the top 5 industries, you also talked about the solutions that you could use and what are the titles of the people that you would call on. I probably ought to call on the people that actually make the decision and have the power of the pen to sign. So the first piece of the 4 reasons why people don't buy. Now, thought the other slide was a busy slide? Watch this one, okay? As a good consultant, you have to have quadrants and circles and all that, so I'm really happy about this slide. But look in the middle of those quadrants. What's in the middle? There's a stop sign that says stop. Think about your buyer. Our job should be enabling the buyer to buy. In prospecting, our goal should help the buyer buy as opposed to be that pushy salesperson. Enable the buyer to buy. So I'm going to tell you what those buyers told us about salespeople, what they want great salespeople to do. Upper left-hand column, demonstrate business awareness. What does that mean? They understand the basic business functions. They understand the customer's world. They speak their language. You know, as you start to get into those top 5 verticals, whether it's healthcare or whether it's education, don't they have their own little language, acronyms, abbreviations, and so forth? And you go, they know what they're talking about, but I don't have a clue. Well, get with people that have a clue and understand that. You want to be able to demonstrate business awareness. If I go to the top right says product application, not product knowledge. They don't want to know how it's built. What do they want to know? How does it help them? So they want salespeople that demonstrate a consultative approach, that doesn't pitch products, that sells solutions. We have found in all of our research today, people don't buy products or services. They buy capabilities. They buy solutions. They buy what you do for them. Catherine said in her presentation, what's in it for me? That's what your buyer's thinking. What's in it for me? Why you? Because in most cases here, most people hate change. So as you have some of your very most successful salespeople here, ask this question. And watch, we'll get a good grumble when I say this. For the veterans here, the very successful folks that have been in outside sales for a long time, have you ever gone to a presentation and the person is complaining about their current supplier ad nauseum? Hate this, don't do that, don't follow up, bad product, bad service, whatever. And you're thinking, I've got a great opportunity to earn their business today, only to have them stay with the current provider. Is that the craziest thing in the world? That should tell you how much people hate change. Right? They hate change because it's the fear of the unknown. That's the devil they know. So in our case, if we can show a consultative approach and really help them see the solution picture, our job is going to get better and we make them the hero. We want to make our client the hero. Don't rob that from them. Right? We want to make our client the hero. Bottom left, interpersonal skills. Look at the 4 bullets. Credible, sincere, trustworthy, and competent. Now, when we asked that question, if salesperson A and salesperson B had a relatively similar product, why do you buy from one versus the other? The number 1 answer by a landslide was, I trust them. Now, you can't start off with a sales call with, hi, I'm extremely trustworthy. But the fact of the matter is you do. And I'm going to give you 5 keys right now, a little added bonus, 5 keys to build trust. Because trust starts at the very beginning and it continues. So here they go. First off, to build trust, number 1, do what you said you will do. Number 1, do what you said you will do. Number 2, show up on time. Salespeople today need to be really good about showing up on time. Too many of the less successful salespeople today have the ish mentality. It's an 8-ish appointment. It's a 9-ish appointment. No, you want to show up on time. So first, do what you say you're going to do. Second, show up on time. Third, really hard. Listen more than you talk. In sales, really hard. You know, Catherine said in her presentation, nobody ever listened their way out of a sale. Absolutely true. You know, if you hear your voice, you already know what you think. Okay? Number 4, focus on what they buy versus what you sell. Focus on what your customer is buying versus what you're selling. And 5th, really a lost art today, professional and timely follow-up and follow-through. Those 5 keys will build trust. If you start out in a trust relationship, that customer will be a long-time, mutually beneficial relationship for you. And that is key to building your brand. You know, as we talk about prospecting in general, I sent out a tweet last week, and I got some nice comments about it. And let me just set this aside before I go to the fourth quadrant. Prospecting for a day doesn't build a pipeline, but prospecting every day builds a business. That was really good, and very few of you wrote that down. I'm going to say it again, okay? I'm watching, and I can barely see with the lights in front of me, but prospecting for a day doesn't build a pipeline, but prospecting every day builds a business, and you want to build your book of business. Okay, bottom right quadrant, sales professionalism, organized, efficient, follows a process, executes a plan. What buyers told us is we hate surprises. If something's going to be late, the earlier you communicate that, the better off you are. You know, if there's a billing issue, if there's a service issue, etc., doing that early will allow you to be able to still proactively manage the relationship. Prospecting is proactive business. Prospecting is proactive, not reactive. And I thought it was funny when Catherine held up the book and talked about outside sales. Okay, that is a really key point. If we are reactive, if we're going into our center and waiting for the phone to ring, not prospecting. We did some work in the financial services, and I asked a bank that would be very well known to some of you because it's a large regional bank, and I talked to the regional manager. They said, what's your keys to effective prospecting? And they said, and I'm pretty much quoting, it's a paraphrase, but it's close. They said, we like to answer the phone on the first ring. I don't believe that's prospecting, you know. We need to be outside of the center. And I'm going to even go, and the owners are going to love it when I say this, so I know it. But once stay outside, talk to customers, talk to prospects, get out of the graphic designs, get out of the operations, get out of the back, go out and do what you can control. Don't chase your order all the way through until it goes out the back door. Because what ends up happening then is you lose all that productive time selling, and your card says, and we're telling you, you're an outside sales rep. So be out there talking to customers. Very few of them kind of, you know, especially the ones that we want to go get today that are those competitive takeaways, we need to go out and see them and meet them where they are. Okay, moving on, pyramid of power. Pyramid of power is a really good way for you to look at this, and I'm going to tell you how to use the tool. So at the top of the pyramid of power, obviously depending upon the size company you talk to, the pyramid can be bigger or wider, but the concept is the same. So in the top, it's the office of the CXO. Everybody with a C and an O in their title, along with president, general manager, owner, etc. Top of the pyramid. Second rung of the pyramid, line of business executive, LOB, line of business executive. That's the functional area. Sales, marketing, ops, finance, IT, etc. By the way, you can sell solutions to all of them, which is really neat. Okay, they have the power of the pen. Third part down in the pyramid, staff executive. Those are the folks that are normally chartered with carrying out the strategy or vision of the company. Now, the trick question is, where should I sell? And the answer is all throughout the entire pyramid. But the key is the higher up you go, the quicker you get to the decision maker is better for you, even if you get delegated down. So let me explain how to use this. If you've got a key opportunity that you're going to go, somebody on that targeted list that Catherine talked about this morning in one of our top 5 industries, I would write the titles of the people you're calling on the left-hand side and make sure they're aligned in the right part of the pyramid. And I'm going to give you a little coaching now, and I'll apologize to anybody that has a family member that works at a bank. With the exception of teller, is there anybody in a bank that's not a vice president? Okay? So don't get stuck into the title, focus on the responsibilities. Okay? In pharmaceuticals, we've done some work in pharmaceuticals, and the top of the pyramid in pharmaceutical is the brand manager. So if you just go by title, you think manager would be low, VP would be high. Not the case. Okay? So left-hand side, write the titles and functional titles of the people that you're calling on or should be calling on. So the first red flag for you should be this. If there's only one name, one title, we have a single point failure opportunity. That's not good. We need to make sure we're weaving a web. So that should be the aha. But on the left side, write down what titles. On the right-hand side of the pyramid, identify if that person or those people are allies, adversaries, or neutral to the Fast Signs brand. Allies, adversaries, or neutral. Because depending upon where that person is, I need to take somebody that's an adversary at least to neutral to be able to get them to make a change and for us to earn their business. Make sense? So great tool to get the visual and to let you know what you need to be able to do. Okay, I'm going to move into the telephone scripts now. Now, normally when we talk to people that are in the sales profession, and they've been doing it for a long time, the word script normally drives them a little loony. Selling's more of an art than a science. Yeah, I got that. Okay. But let me tell you, every one of you have a script. If I were to role play and grab anybody out of the audience, I'm not going to do it, and I would say, hello, you would say something, correct? Because otherwise it's just an obscene phone call with heavy breathing. Right? You'd say something. Okay? So the fact is that you're on autopilot. But if you actually have a script that allows you to generate the kind of results that you want, now you want to be able to continue to refine the script. You want to use the right language. You want to understand what the buyer is expecting. Okay? So let's make sure that we listen a little bit more about our telephone scripts today. If you start off with first name, last name, fast signs to a cold call or a prospecting call, you're going to hear a click sound very early. Hi, it's John Boyens with Fast Signs, Frisco, Texas. What is the person that you don't have any contact with now, what's that person going to think when you start to work through that process? What are they thinking? Sales call or telemarketing call. They don't know you, you don't know them. I mean, those again, the veterans. I want the veterans to share best practices with the newbies here. All right? Listen, have you ever made a phone call when somebody said, thank you so much for calling. I have $10,000. I have 30 minutes to spend. How do you spell fast signs? I don't know. By the way, if you've made one of those calls, could you please let all of us know who it is? We want to call them next. It just doesn't happen. So what I need to do, remember, somebody was already doing something when you made the phone call. You've already interrupted them. So what you say needs to be precise and targeted and of value to them. So if you only have 15 to 18 seconds to get somebody's attention when you make the call, what do you want to be able to do? Well, one of our tools is called a credibility window. The credibility window allows you to leverage past success to work with or leverage future business. Hi, a situation you might be interested, the credibility window. Situation you might be interested, we were working with another manufacturing company who was having a challenge with, right? We get back to the needs part of that. Well, I take elements out of the credibility window story and I use it in my telephone script. So if you look, I've created two, a cold call and a warm call, but I want us to spend some time thinking about this. I'm going to go to warm call first. Warm call. Hi, it's John Boyens. We have not had the pleasure of meeting one another, but Sally Smith suggested I give you a call. So right off the bat, in what, 5 or 6 seconds, what's just happened? They realize that we don't know one another, but they understand why I'm making that phone call. It's really important for us to be able to get into that framework. Why am I making the phone call? On the cold call, I actually only use first name. I coach our people to only use first name. Hi, my name is John, and the reason for my call is, or hi, my name is John, and I've been working with other marketing executives who are having a challenge with. So right again at the beginning, even on a cold call, what I'm trying to be able to do is establish a value of why we should call, why we should have this conversation. And I'm going to go further with this one. When we're trying to be able to engage somebody, you can't get everything you want to do to build rapport or to build a relationship in 15 to 18 seconds. I've sat and listened to people in all different professions try to do telemarketing or outbound phone calls, and it sounds like that they had, 5-hour energy shots all morning, and they're trying to get everything they can think of out in that context right off the bat. Well, if I talk really fast and I talk really loud, does that make the person hear it better? It normally doesn't. So what I need to be able to do is put a script in place. Now, as I look, and I've given you these, I want to be able to target it. So you now know going in, if I target the top 5 industries that Catherine mentioned, or the other 7 that I added in terms of the 12, do you know going in what the conversation is probably going to be about? Right? I'm talking to a marketing person in education. You saw Catherine's slides about what are some of the applications, what solutions can we sell to education, a marketing person in education. What can we sell? Holler some stuff out. Trade show. Keep going. Digital signage, we can have static signs, we can have wayfinding signs. There's all kinds of things that we can end up selling to that person. So I don't want to say all of that on the phone. What do I want to say if I'm going to try to work directly with somebody in the educational area? Wouldn't it be very powerful if you could talk about how you've helped others in their particular role achieve whatever their particular goal was? So whether it was better attendance, whether it was more literacy of the kids, better test scores, whatever those things might be, you tie it back to what you already know. How does your credibility meter work right there off the bat on that phone call when you start talking about things that they're measured on and what they're doing? I'm back to the idea about prospecting is all about uncovering and satisfying needs. Uncovering and satisfying needs. Go back to this. I'm just thinking to myself, oh my goodness, I got all these solutions. Whew, where do I start? Start by asking questions, start by uncovering needs. And if I've already got credibility, I can make a script work for you. I can make a telephone script work for you. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because we all have that in our mind. And I want you to track it. I want you to be able to use it. Whether you use a cold call or a warm call script, what I'm going to suggest is this, is that when you start to make your calls, track the results. And if you're not having the kind of results you want, then I would modify a little bit of the script to get you where you want to go. What are some of the measurements that you'd have for a successful telephone script? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to sell them on the phone? No, what are you trying to do? I'd love to get an appointment. I'd love to be able to get in front of you, understand what you're trying to accomplish. What are some of the initiatives? What are some of the projects? What are some of the programs that you're focusing, meaning your customer or your prospect, what are you focusing on so now you know which of those wonderful solutions that you have either in the icons or on the word cloud behind me, which of the solutions you're going to talk about. But I need to, in the phone call, be able to get enough interest for them to say, tell me more. Our job in a telephone script is to create curiosity, not tension. To create curiosity. I want them to say, tell me more. Who have you done that for? Who else have you helped do that? How might you help me? If that's what comes across during that script, we're going to have more success. Now, there's another part at the bottom. I want you to look in both, the cold call and the warm call. It says, I'm curious if you're experiencing anything similar and would like to know how we help them address this challenge. Great words. I'm curious. I'm curious. I'm not trying to sell. I don't want to be that pushy salesperson. I want to be the consultant. I want to be their trusted advisor. I want to be their ideas person. Okay? And so when you ask, I'm curious if you're experiencing anything, instantaneously they know that you have a better understanding of their world because you've asked questions about things that matter to them. Now, I'm not asking you to ask this question. I'm asking you to think about it in preparation for your call. If I know what this person was hired to do, if I know how they're measured in their job, and if I know what they could get fired for not doing, right? And I focused my conversation on those areas, do you think we'd have a pretty good conversation? What were they hired to do? How are they measured? So in marketing, I'm all about trying to extend the brand, communicate with my customers, internal, external communication, et cetera, et cetera. If they start to tell you how they're measured or how they're looked upon, I can look at which solution set do I have that's going to help them address their particular needs. And even if I get the happy part, I mean, I'm going to give you one here. I'm not doing a negotiations workshop or objection handling. You've got a great one in a breakout session coming up. But I'm going to give you one that I would suggest that you always use. When somebody says they're happy with their current provider, just say the following thing. I understand that you're happy. What would it take for you to be delighted? Ooh, I heard an ooh, okay, right? Because what did I just say when I said, I understand that you're happy, what would it take for you to be delighted? I just said there's another level. I'm not bad-mouthing the competition. I don't want to ever bad-mouth the competition. I want to be able to understand what would it take for you to be delighted. Now, the important thing for you all to hear, again, I'll do it my 3-month or newer outside sales reps that are here, incumbents normally do a poor job of documenting the value they bring. We spend a lot of time, energy, and effort to be able to go win a customer, but then we don't spend as much time documenting or reinforcing the value. That's why I love that. I don't know who the person that Catherine had mentioned about the close-off book. What a great idea that was. Well, you know, that's that professional follow-up. You can not only use it to reinforce the value you brought, you're using it for marketing and prospecting with other people. That's great stuff, Okay? So I know I'm hung on the scripts here, but I'm trying to make sure I'm giving you the language to recognize that if I get that quick shun on the phone, I'm going to want to be able to engage in a conversation. So again, I'm big on phraseology. I want to engage in sales conversations, not sales confrontations. Too often, we have a lot of energy about our brand, and we start to go back in, and inadvertently, we end up getting into a sales confrontation. You know, I've been a customer of XYZ sign company for the last 7 years. Well, let me tell you why Fast Signs is better. What you just said is, exactly how long have you been an idiot? Right? About 7 years, apparently. I don't want to get to that. I want to get into a conversation with them. Same thing on the script. So somebody says, I've been a customer. Tell me, what do you like about him? You know? What else do you like about him? If you could change one thing, what would it be? So do you see where I'm giving you just scripting and language to be able to use? It's all about the verbiage, about a conversation. So regardless of which script you use, cold or warm, now let's go what happens. Here's great news. There's only 4 things that can happen, only 4 that can happen when you use whichever script it is. And again, if you've got a script that's working, please continue to use the script that you're using, and please share it with somebody else in the room, because I'd like to get the benefit. So when I get back into this, when I want you to really get a sense, my scripts are here, right? I got it blanked out for you. Well, what's going to happen? There's only 4. If they give you anything positive, right? That's step 1. Anything positive. Who was that? How did you do that? What solutions did you provide, etc. Now on the phone, I can either keep going with the conversation or I can close with an appointment. Correct? So one potential response to my script is anything positive. Second response, how about if I get I don't see that happening. I don't have that problem. You know, that's not an issue for me. I want to have 2 or 3 other things in my back pocket that I can use or say when I'm talking to that person. So other challenges we've heard are this, that, and the other thing. Now, what's the likelihood if you've worked in your vertical markets, your top 5 industries, and you understand the issues that that manager or that director faces, what's the chance that you'll miss on 4? Not a chance. So you need to do your homework. You know, pre-call planning doesn't just count the drive to the appointment. Good. And some of you are going to get that. The coffee will be flowing later. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't just count the drive. We actually do that in advance. We're going to actually plan for. Before you're going out on that call, you've done your research. You're following the Fast Sign Solution selling system. You've Googled their name. You've looked at LinkedIn. You've went to their website. You got a sense of what's going on. I mean, buyers today are expecting salespeople to be much more savvy, much more informed. There's much more at your fingertips that's available to you today to go out there and do a really effective call. So second one, don't have that problem, make sure you have it. Third one, which is one that most people get, it's the dreaded send me something. You do your script, boom, send me something. I'm really busy, can you send me something? And I say to salespeople, well, what do you do? They go, well, we send them stuff. What do you send them? Oh, brochures, little flyers, little squeezies, cups, pens. You know. No, that's not what they're doing. That's not what they're asking. They're trying to get you off the phone. Why? Either they don't have time or they don't see the value. So here's a great verbiage to use on the phone when you're doing your prospecting. They say, would you send me something? I say, I'd be delighted to send you something. Can I ask you 2 questions to make sure I send you exactly what would be of interest to you? I've yet to have anybody that I've coached say that where they've said no. Never. So guess what? Have 2 really good questions that you'd like to ask. You don't go, well, I'll get back to you on that. No, I mean, we know we're going to get that response. 2 questions. So what are some great questions to be able to ask? Right? What are some great questions? Catherine gave you one right on stage. You know, what are some of the initiatives? What are some of the programs? What are some of the projects that you or your organization is working on today? So you're starting to understand their bigger picture, and then you can partner with them strategically as opposed to just being a vendor. I don't want to be a vendor. I want to be a business partner. Yes? Good one. Okay. As you continue into the questionings, could you ask other specific information? If you know there's certain things going on in the industry, you know, if we talk about HIPAA compliance today or privacy issues, if we talk about, you know, American Disabilities Act and there's more information coming out, if we have some expertise, wouldn't I want to add a loaded kind of question in there so that we can actually sell some of our solutions? Right? That's really what I want to do. So high-level situational or behavioral questions are good questions to ask. When this happens, what do you do? If this were to occur, how would you handle that? If you could ask some of those questions, again, it gives you a chance to be able to align what you're going to send to them. Okay, number 4 on the list, the I'm not interested. And I want you to listen to how I say it, but I want you to put it in your own terms. If you've now called the right level on the pyramid of power, and he or she has said, I'm not interested, you could say, well, can you tell me who in the organization is responsible for extending the life of the brand? Who in the organization is responsible for improved market messaging? In other words, you give one of those key messages about what you talked about. You're only going to get one of 2 responses. They're either going to say, well, that's so-and-so, in which case we would say, thank you, and can you forward me to so-and-so? Or most likely, what do you think you're going to have them say? That's me. And then you go, you know what? I thought so, and evidently I didn't do as good of a job of explaining why I'm calling. It gives you a chance to re-tee. It gives you a chance to have that conversation again. So when they say I'm not interested, go global. Don't go down to the product, right? We're not going to talk about trade show booths or banners or vehicle wraps or whatever. What are we going to say? Who in your organization is responsible for enhancing the brand, improving the visual identity, being able to grow the business, the market, etc. That's who you want to be able to talk to. Is that making sense? Yes? No? I can't see you. It's very bright up here. Okay. So if I now know there's only 4 things that can happen when I do my telephone script, aren't I more prepared? Catherine talked about goal setting and confidence. In sales, it is so important for us to be confident. And I will tell you, again, I'm still a sales guy, so this is me talking about us, not to you, about us. Salespeople have a great bravado, and we are the most insecure people you'll ever meet in your entire life. Don't believe me? We'll see how this one works for you. So, we go out, we work hard, we did our prospecting, we followed the model, we went ahead and made the presentation, and they said no. The first thing we think is, why don't they like me? They didn't say they didn't like you. What'd they say? I'm not buying today. They didn't even say I'm not buying ever. What they said is I'm not buying today. I believe if somebody gives us a sales objection, it's actually a buying signal. Folks, you got to get that in your head. If somebody says your price is too high, I prefer a different vendor, I don't have the budget, our budget's shrinking, whatever it is, what they've just said is they've given you a chance to win their business. They've given you a chance to win. I'm going to go further with that. They're going to give you a chance. Wouldn't you rather have somebody give you an objection than not respond to your phone call, not return your email, or not schedule a meeting or take a meeting with you? You can't do anything when they're quiet. But if they give you the what, you get a chance to address that. So I'm going to stay on my prospecting kick because I'm passionate about this. You might be able to tell. And I had a little bit of caffeine this morning. Might be able to tell that too. I'm going to give you language to use whether you're in person or on the phone in your initial meeting with somebody. At some point in time in the meeting, here's what I want you to say. Everybody needs to write this down. This is golden. Here you go. If we were fortunate enough to earn your business, and it were a year from now, how do you know it was a good decision? If we were fortunate enough to earn your business, and it were a year from now, how do you know it was a good decision? One more time. If we were fortunate enough to earn your business, and it were a year from now, how do you know it was a good decision? That one question has 3 components to it, and I want to kind of peel back the onion on each of those. The first part says, if we were fortunate enough to earn your business. What's the message I just gave? We're working for you. This is not me trying to get you to buy something. I'm not trying to sell you. I want to work with you. I'm going to work hard, right? First part, the subliminal message, earn your business. Second, and it were a year from now. What has that done? What has it done? Yeah, we've already assumptively closed, and we have to get them to imagine themselves being a Fast Signs customer for at least a year. Sometimes that's the 5149 getting them over the line, right? So they actually have to imagine themselves as a customer for a year. The third should be the keys to the kingdom. How do you know it was a good decision, or how do you know it was money well spent? They should be telling you what you need to do to earn their business. So if they say things like, well, if you were the cheapest out there all the time, not what we're looking to hear. We're looking to have it tie back to their business. Well, you know what? If we can grow market share, if we could increase the traffic in our stores, if we could increase our average order size, if we could generate more revenue, ... Right? That's really where we're trying to get them. So they're going to tell us, if we ask that question, they're going to tell us how to sell to them. And it's all about enabling that buyer to buy. So prospecting is about uncovering needs, creating a vision with a bias towards what Fast Signs does, and then presenting the solution. Right? And that's really where it is. So I don't want to overcomplicate it. Now, I'm looking here that I've got time to be able to do this. I was hoping I would. So I'm actually going to go back and forth, because me talking up here, you're going to go, yeah, that made sense when he said it, or I think we could do that. But if you walk out of these doors and you actually don't get a chance to do some of this stuff, you're not going to use it. You know, I'm going to suggest that, you know, in my keynote today and in my keynote tomorrow about acquiring customers, we're going to give you a lot of ideas. We're going to give you a lot of verbiage and language to be able to use, but it's going to take a little bit of practice to get comfortable with it. So I wouldn't suggest that I'd roll the dice, go to the biggest prospect in my territory and go, let's try this, see how it goes. I might suggest you try it with some of the smaller customers. So I'm going to go back to the slide here on slide 11 that you've got in your deck. And I'd like you to practice this. We have enough time to do it kind of quickly back and forth. Look to your partner. If you're looking to the person next to you that you think, I don't think this is who I want to sit with, we should move. But I just want to do what we call a quick sit and spin. One of you pretend that you're a buyer. And oh, by the way, be a nice buyer, okay? Be a buyer. Some person be a salesperson. I want you to fill in the script on slide 11. Fill it in, either warm or cold call, and I want you to just hear how it sounds. So identify one seller, one buyer, put your script together, and I just want you to just go hello and go through the script. I want you to hear it, okay? Everybody do that. I'm going to give you a couple seconds. Okay, all right, good. Good. I got to hear a lot of chatter, so I'm glad to hear that. So now those of you that were in the practice session that were the buyer, hold on, back to me up here. Okay, good. All right, those of you in the little quick role play, when you were the buyer or the prospect, just answer out how did it sound to you as the buyer or the prospect? How did it sound? Professional, good. Keep comfortable, conversational. What else? Friendly, okay? So listen, okay, the buyer or the prospect, and it's the first time you did it. Now, those of you that played the salesperson, how did it feel to you as the salesperson? Awkward, reading a script, Did you hear what happened, folks? We don't care. It's not our perception that matters. It's the buyer's perception. So it's the first time that you tried the script, it felt awkward. It's not what I said. I had to look at this, but the buyer just said, felt pretty good. Right? Felt conversational, felt professional. So here's what you need to know. It doesn't have to be my script. It doesn't have to be your script. It needs to be a hybrid of whatever it is that you're going to say. It takes 30 days of continuous behavior to make something a habit. 30 days. That's why, you know, when you look at health clubs on January 2nd, you cannot get in the parking lot. You go to the same health club on February 2nd, you can shoot a gun off, okay? Well, that's what it takes here. It's going to take 30 days of practice to be able to get good at it. So work your script, get comfortable, get it honed. There's things that you can do. You want to really get good, leave yourself a voicemail with your telephone script. Leave yourself a voicemail. You'll hear tone, inflection, pace, etc. It will help you get better and be more comfortable. So, first step today, 30 days of doing this. Get your own script and make sure it works. All right, last thing that I have for you this morning is talking about gatekeepers. And I mean, I'm telling you what, gatekeepers are the keys to your kingdom in many cases. With the exception of the really small opportunities, you're always going to run into that lower level department person, an administrative assistant, an executive assistant, a receptionist, etc. I'm going to talk about the people part first. So when I look at dealing with those gatekeepers, most of the time it's built into their DNA. If you started off with something like, hi, my name is John Boyens, I'm wondering if you could help me. What do most gatekeepers say if you had that conversation? What do you want me to do, or if I can, etc. Most of them are trained that way, so that if you start off with, my name is John Boyens, I wanted to send some information to the person that's the head of marketing. I don't have their name. Can you give me their name or contact information? Right? Assuming you've already done your homework on the website, your pre-call. Right? Those things, most of them are good. Most executive assistants, most of those gatekeepers are good. Now, you do have some small percentage of what we call the difficult gatekeepers. Would never let you buy anybody ever, correct? Fort Knox would need some of these gatekeepers. So if I'm dealing with a difficult gatekeeper, what I like to be able to do is vary the time I call. Before 8 o'clock, after 5 o'clock, during lunch. I have found this to be true. If you are dealing with a difficult gatekeeper, he or she really can count time very well. So I start at 8, I leave at 5, right? There you go. Vary the time. Oftentimes you'll be able to get to that person. Now, go back in. Do not end up doing something that's not true. You don't want to do fibs and lies. You've got to be truthful on this. I always like to warm up my gatekeeper whenever I can. Warming up a gatekeeper is I might send them an email. I might send them a letter, an overnight package, something in advance. And now my call is, hi, this is John Boyens. I'm following up on the information I sent you, right? It becomes very easy to be able to warm them up. So the people part, I'm wondering if you can help me, is some great verbiage. Now, on the other one, on the voicemail, I asked this, and I'm not going to ask you all because I pretty much know the answer. Have you ever left a message to a prospect where at the end of the message, regardless of what you said at the beginning, you'd say, and please call me back? Right? Everybody has done that at some point in time to a prospect you've never met. How often do they call you back? Yeah, the next time will be one. Okay? So why do we continue to leave messages? Why do we continue to leave messages that aren't giving us the results we want? Back to my idea of scripting, doing what we ought to do. I have built one here that you can end up using. So if you give your first part of the script that you just built, at the end, instead of saying, please call me back, please look at this. I'm going to be very difficult to reach this afternoon as I'm going to be meeting with clients all over town. I'll call you tomorrow morning at 8. If that time is not good, can you suggest an alternative date and time? You're controlling the next interaction. I'm going to be very difficult to meet. I'm talking with clients or prospects or what, right? I'm going to be difficult to meet. Even if you're not going to be difficult to meet, all right? You're going to be difficult to reach, all right? I want to make sure. I had somebody at a convention that I did earlier this year ask me this during the break. They said, well, what if they call you back? I'd answer the phone. What do you mean, what if they call you back? Come on. The idea is for us to be able to use a script that generates the behavior we want. What are we trying to do in the script? Make them available and interested in having a conversation with us. That's what it's all about. So on that will really work. I'm going to be difficult to reach. I've got meetings, I've got calls, I've got appointments, whatever it may be, and go from there. So as I wrap, let me give you a couple things. Prospecting is the key to selling. This is the science part that I'm going to look at, and I'm going to kind of tie back some of the stuff that Catherine said with what I shared with you as well. If you want to be successful in sales and outside sales at Fast Signs, you got to do your homework. You got to take the courses that they have available online. You have to take advantage of the resources. You've got to use the selling system because there's a process. But here's what you really want to be able to know, and just simplifying as much as I can. If I have enough outbound prospecting activities, phone calls, mailers, in-person meetings, trade shows, events, networking groups, etc., the number of amount of prospecting activities and efforts that I do generate the number of new opportunities I uncover. The number of new opportunities I uncover will increase the number of estimates that I issue. The number of estimates I issue will increase the number of placed orders I get. The number of placed goes to picked up. I just simplified it. Now, the 2-day people are going, placed, picked up, what are we talking about, right? Sales and revenue, okay? Just you'll get to there in a second. But the idea is I've got to do my prospecting activities to uncover new opportunities, both within my existing base and outside. I've got to. From there, that's going to increase the number of estimates I get to issue. The number of estimates I get to issue increase the number of placed orders I get, the POs that I get, and placed almost always turns into picked up. So it is my pleasure to be here. I get a chance to talk with you again tomorrow on acquiring new customers, and I've got a breakout session as well. Catherine said it great. Sales is a noble profession. I am proud to say that I'm a sales professional. I am proud to be able to be part of the Fast Signs brand here. It's a great brand to be a part of. You want to be able to soak up as much as you can. You're going to get out of this session and these sessions whatever it is you put into it. You got a great opportunity to pick a lot of wonderful minds, successful people. Have a great rest of the session. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Appreciate it.